For a long time, the Suzuki Vitara was a staple of what is now the booming small SUV segment. If you're of a certain generation, chances are you had one, your friend had one, your friend's friend had one. You get the point. Now, after a 17-year absence, the badge returns and is doing so in a big way. The rather funky small crossover you see here will take on cars such as the Mazda CX-3 and is tipped to become the brand's second top seller after only the Swift. Let's take a closer look. One of the reasons why Suzuki expects to do so well with the Vitara is its design, which, for a conservative brand, is quite out there. All models get 17-inch wheels and daytime running lights, while the top spec versions can be had with a contrasting roof colour. The boxy lines and the bonnet styling hark to the original, though unlike that car, there's no 3-door or soft top option anymore. Such are the times we live in. Priced from the low $20,000 mark and climbing to the low 30s for the top spec test car you see here, the Vitara undercuts most rivals on price, and all the rest on spec. It even shapes up pretty well next to something like a Toyota Corolla, which is a longer but less capacious passenger car compared to the crossover Vitara. Echoing the edgy exterior design, there are a couple of touches inside the cabin that add a very un-Suzuki level layer of funkiness. These plastic inserts that you see here can actually be traded for something a little bit brighter in colour if you feel the mood. Another welcome touch is the new infotainment system, which comprises a large touchscreen, a simple to operate home menu, and all variants get standard sat-nav, a reversing camera and an excellent voice control system. That's pretty good value for money at this end of the market. Of course, one of the main reasons why people buy crossovers at all is the fact that you get a slightly elevated driving position and better all-round visibility than you would in a hatchback. Okay, some of the plastics feel a bit cheap and scratchy, but it's also a cheap car, so you can forgive that. I tell you, sunroofs are kind of the bane of my existence. As you can see, this one really does hurt rear headroom. It's fine on the base car though, there's no sunroof there. Like the S-Cross, with which this car shares a platform, packaging otherwise is pretty good. There's ample knee room, good foot room, and the suede and leather seats are also pretty well bolstered. The boxy design means there's a big glass house, and that means good visibility out. All cars do come standard with a pair of Isofix anchors for those with that style of child seat, though the only cup holders you get are in the doors, and there's no rear air vents either. With the rear seats fixed in place, you get about as much cargo space as one of the more capacious small hatches. It also outstrips the Mazda CX-3, though the Honda HR-V has it beat. There are a couple of clever touches too, such as the liftable load floor, though underneath there's only a space-saver spare wheel. If you want to drop the rear seats to get even more room, it's a pretty simple process. Et voila! Under the bonnet of the Vitara is the same 1.6 litre petrol engine found in the S-Cross. One benefit of having such a small engine is the fuel economy. Suzuki claims you can do under 6 litres every 100 k's. We averaged a little bit more than that, but it's certainly a lot more frugal than many small crossovers out there. The majority of buyers are expected to opt for the torque converter 6-speed automatic gearbox, which is better than the S-Cross's slurring CVT. This factor, plus the relatively light 1100-ish kilo curb weight, makes the Vitara sprightly enough for use around town. That being said, we're talking pretty low power and torque outputs here, so if you load it up with your friends or your gear, you're probably going to be at the edge. The light and direct steering system makes it pretty fun to punt around on a twisty road. It actually feels kind of sporty. It feels a lot more like a hatchback than it does a high-riding SUV. Body control is good, and body roll is kept to a minimum. In most situations, the urban ride is pretty good. The fact that it's sitting on low-profile 17-inch wheels does mean that it will pick out some of those sharper road bumps, but it's certainly no worse than a lot of its rivals. At higher speeds, it feels pretty planted and stable. The only issue is there is a bit of tyre oil creeping into the cabin, which hurts the NVH. Little Suzukis of yesteryear, including the original Vitara and modern-day Grand Vitara and Jimny, have always led their class when it comes to going off the beaten path. The new Vitara, though, is a car-based monocoque, and it doesn't have the off-road credentials of its predecessor. In fact, the vast majority of sales are going to be of the front-wheel drive base version. The top spec car does come with an on-demand four-wheel drive system though. And while there's no conventional low range, you do have this little dial here that controls Suzuki's all-grip system, which vectors the torque to each wheel differently depending on the amount of surface grip you have at your disposal. There's also some nifty technology such as a hill descent control system. Now, we did have the chance to take this Vitara off the beaten path before onto some muddy trails and tracks and some beach, and can say that it will do some basic off-road work, especially with the right set of tyres. So there's a quick look at the new Suzuki Vitara. Okay, it's not quite the maestro off-road that its predecessor was, and with 5 people and their luggage on board, it's probably going to be a little bit underpowered. However, it's really well priced, it's really well spec'd, and if you ask me, it looks kind of cool as well. And you can't ask a whole lot more than that from a small crossover SUV. So, this is one new Suzuki that's definitely worth a look.